All right, we've gone live. Hello, anybody who's watching or now live or on a video. I'm Liz Dawes-de from Project Zero, and I'm very excited that after a little lapse in our schedule, we're having a Google Plus Hangout related to Learning Journey 2 of Out of Eden Learn. I'm one of the co-directors of the project here at Project Zero. And before we go any further, I'm going to ask people who kindly join us, our educators and Shea, our project coordinator, to just introduce themselves. Sandra, do you mind just going first and just...
Okay. Yep, sure. Hi, I'm Sandra from Singapore. I teach English at an all-girls secondary school. This is my second journey with my students. But this year we have, I've got 3 other colleagues, so Li Hua is one of them, who's come on board. We're trying to make a more interdisciplinary, take a more interdisciplinary approach to how we do Out of Eden Learn. So, you know, I guess we're excited to share what we've been trying out, and hoping to learn also from, you know, the other educators.
Great, thank you. Shea?
Hi, I'm Shea. I'm the project coordinator of Out of Eden Learn. I've been on the team for about 2 years, and I'm excited to talk about Learning Journey 2. This is our first hangout around Learning Journey 2, so I'm looking forward to it.
Lee? Lee, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, hi. Yeah, hi, and I'm Li Hua. Yeah, I'm from Singapore, so I'm teaching in Nanyang Girls High School. This is actually my first year. I was kind of roped in by Sandra, but the students have been on the journey since the last year. So actually for me, I was going into reading their posts and then kind of like, you know, looking at what they've been doing. And so far this year, I'm quite fortunate to be part of the journey. And it's been quite exciting and enriching so far. Yep.
Great, thank you so much. Tonya?
Good evening. I'm Tonya Dagla. I'm a kindergarten teacher from Greece. I've been working in public schools for the last 10 years. And this is, for me and for my students, is the first time we are joining Out of Eden Learn. And we are going well since we actually decided that we want to keep on with the Learning Journey too.
Great. Shea, is that Tabitha trying to join us?
I don't know if that is.
Okay. Hopefully we'll... Well, okay. Seems to have stopped. Yes, we may have another educator join us. This is the Plus Hangout. It will be kind of fluid and authentic. I'm just going to take a few minutes to talk in general terms and give some updates related to Out of Eden Learn before I pass on to Shea, who will share some examples of student work and talk a bit more specifically about the activities of Learning Journey 2 for those of you who aren't familiar with it. First of all, I know that people like to hear news of Paul, so let me say that he is currently walking across the steppes of, I say steps, S-T-E-P-P-E-S, not steps, of Kazakhstan. He set off from Aktau probably about 10 days ago now, and nobody's heard very much because his satellite phone is playing up a little bit, so we're getting little bits of information, but I think he's glad to be back on the route, and you'll see some new dispatches are starting to come through from Kazakhstan, which are really interesting because it really was such a cradle of civilization. And for educators who haven't seen it, there's a really lovely dispatch about Paul's troubles in finding a pack horse or a horse that could carry his stuff, even though kind of modern-day horses were kind of tamed and bred and kind of evolved, if you like, in that Kazakh region. So I would recommend that because we know there are lots of animal lovers amongst our students, and it's quite a sweet dispatch. On other notes, we have a white paper that we have written about the model of Out of Eden Learn. I'm pleased to say that people are showing a great deal of interest in the work that we're doing on Out of Eden Learn, because I think the work that we've been doing collectively, I might add, is quite unique. I'll also say that because we're based in the US, we've been somewhat galvanized by the current election cycle in the US, where public discourse about other people, migrants, other cultures, has left a lot to be desired. So in that context, I think we're feeling a renewed sense of importance about connecting young people with one another and having them share their stories with one another. The white paper, which I hope will be out with an accompanying blog post, either tomorrow or Monday. Just to give you some highlights, we really went away as a team and thought about the qualities of the community that we've developed and what we've learned about how students can engage with one another. And I guess 3 key themes of this paper are: 1, the importance of slowing down. That shouldn't be a surprise because that comes through in Paul's journalism, comes through in all our activities, and kind of it's a mainstay of the work we do. But just taking the time to listen to other people, to observe the world, we think is a key ingredient and something that's, I think, a little bit unique to our project compared to others that are to do with global education, generally speaking. The second key point is the importance of reciprocity. So by that I mean that young people are looking at their own communities and their own lives at the same time as they're engaging with others. So it's not just them looking out and learning about other people. They're going through a process of really looking at their own lives and thinking about who they are at the same time. So it feels like more of an exchange than a one-way street. And then the third key ingredient, I think, is authenticity. And we've really heard from kids that they like the fact that this feels like the real world, that this stuff is important, that they've got real kids on the end of the line that they can communicate with or engage with or learn about. And also what they write about, the things that they go out and observe, are also real life. And I feel for our older students, having it in a social media platform and it representing the kind of digital lives that they are really living, that's also real life for them, as opposed to a more textbook approach. So those are the 3 key ingredients we've pulled out in the white paper: slow, reciprocity, and authenticity. Yeah, and we look forward to doing more work and having more debate about those. There's really a lot happening. I won't give you all the highlights. We'll save some of those, but I feel like Out of Eden Learn is kind of growing in various directions, and we're all feeling really excited and motivated here at Project Zero about it. Quickly changing gears, and I'll just say one thing. Turning our attention to Learning Journey 2. For those who are new to Out of Eden Learn, on the basis of feedback from our community, we split up our 2 principal learning journeys into 2 parts, because the reality is that some schools will only be able to do 1 learning journey, and when we initially started we had 1 mega 12-step learning journey, and it was a little bit intimidating for people. So Learning Journey 1 is more the introduction to the concepts of Out of Eden Learn, slowing down, looking at the world, thinking about your neighborhood, kind of doing slow journalism, if you like, or ethnography might be one other way of putting it, in the style of Paul Salopek. In Learning Journey 2, I think we place more emphasis on the idea of inviting young people to connect their own lives to bigger human stories. And by that we mean history, the bigger human past, so that their own lives at this moment in time, they maybe can see it in a bigger context, just as Paul is doing in his journalism when he refers to different layers of history. But we're also helping them to, or inviting them, should I say, to think about how where they live in the world might be connected in some way to other places in the world and events that are unfolding in the present day. So these might be global forces or shared concerns. I mean, we don't prescribe too much what they should notice. But Learning Journey 2 is all about making connections, building on the principles established in Learning Journey 1, slowing down, listening carefully, reflecting on ourselves. So, with no more ado, Shaya, over to you.
All right, I'm going to share my screen and hope it works.
Yeah, I love these like tense moments on Google Plus Hangout where you're not quite sure if the thing's going to hold together.
So, are you all seeing the Core Learning Journey 2, the past and the global slide?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. So I'm just going to give a few moments for viewers to go ahead and review our Core Learning Journey 2 curriculum. As Liz said, Core Learning Journey 2 is all about making connections and reflections and, you know, putting into practice all of the dispositions of thinking and the strategies that students learned in Learning Journey 1. So the first footstep allows students to reflect on their past learning journey and think about how they're going to move forward. Then students connect their own lives to the past. They learn from other generations. They connect everyday objects to bigger systems. And they notice global forces in the everyday. Finally, they plan their next steps and reflect on their entire learning experience with Out of Eden Learn. So now that you all have a sense of the full learning journey, we're going to look at a few pieces of student work from the classrooms of the participating educators. This piece of student work is actually from Hobe Sound, Florida in the United States, from Tabitha O'Donnell's 6th grade class, and Tabitha may be joining us momentarily, so I'm just going to keep this in the slideshow. So that's one piece of student work from connecting our own lives to the past. Here's another very different but equally as meaningful piece of student work connecting our own lives to the past from Piraeus, Greece, from Tonia's class. Tonia's on screen with us now. It's a kindergarten student. Here's the second part of that piece of student work. I love how the kindergartners interpreted the old to the new. And finally, we'll take a look at a couple of pieces of student work from Sandra and Lee's classes in Singapore. They work at an all-girls high school, as they said. This piece of student work is from the footstep connecting everyday objects to bigger systems. And the student chose paints as their everyday object. In the interest of time, I'll move on, but we could spend a lot of time looking at this diagram and unpacking it. And finally, our footstep learning from other generations, where students are invited to have a conversation with an elder in their community or in their family around an object that is meaningful to them. And the object has to be at least 30 years old. So that's just to get us in the mindset of, you know, what it is students are doing, what it is students are producing in this learning journey before we start talking about, you know, the impact of the learning journey on the students and educators and what educators are seeing in their classroom. So did anyone want to make any comments on the student work that they just saw before we move on?
Well, maybe I'll share a little bit about Footstep 4.
Sure.
Well, Li Hua and I and a few other colleagues, we came back fresh from Sydney's Project Zero conference, and you know, we tried out some routines, and so we went into class and we used the parts, purposes, and complexity routine to just examine some things to get them started on Footstep 4. Some of them had already posted something, so they were kind of concerned, like, oh no, you know, this is coming after we've posted, that's no problem. So I think some of the feedback that I got from some of the kids was that I think they were noticing small, insignificant, unimportant things for the first time and with fresh eyes. And I think that was kind of powerful. And I think they also learned a little bit about classification.
That's great. And just to clarify, Footstep 4 is connecting. Oh, I'm sorry. Just to clarify, Footstep 4 is connecting everyday objects to bigger systems for our community. Liz, did you want to say something?
No, it was a clarifying question. When you said learning a bit about classifications, I'm just really interested to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I think we borrowed one of the videos, I think was by a Harvard student, on a chair. This is not a chair video. So we showed it to them, and they really loved it.
Yeah. Okay. Now that you've mentioned it, maybe we could share that. We'll share that out with the rest of the community. And just for the benefit of other people, Parts, Purpose, Complexity is a pretty new thinking routine that comes out of one of our sister projects, Agency by Design, which is directed by Shari Tishman, who's also one of the co-directors of this project. And I have to say, I really think that thinking routine is a very powerful one, and we've heard from quite a few educators who've adapted it for many different purposes. So this is really terrific to hear, because I think we could. The activity was somewhat based on that, but to hear that you've explicitly made that connection is really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, and Sandra, your students, and Lee, your students, for that Footstep really went above and beyond. So it may be something that we consider incorporating into the instructions for that Footstep more explicitly, the parts, purposes, and complexities. I just wanted to shout out to Mary Hansel and Beneka Mosquera, who are watching this Google Plus Hangout now, and they're excited to be here. And Mary Hansel says that her students really enjoyed learning from other generations and noticing global forces in the everyday. And I think we'll talk more about those footsteps as we move forward with the Hangout. Shall we start the thinking routine, Liz?
Yes, that sounds great.
Okay, so we're about to embark on a Project Zero thinking routine exercise. It's called Connect, Extend, Challenge, and we're inviting educators here on screen and any educators who have participated in Learning Journey 2 or are participating in Learning Journey 2 and that are watching to participate in this thinking routine. And so first we'll start with Connect, and I'll just invite you to share any connections you have made or your students have made through this learning journey to date, or in the past if you've participated in the past.
I would like to share something.
Great.
Okay, I would like to share some connections that my students have made. Actually, it involves the footstep number 4. That we haven't been able to put it on the platform yet, but I'm just fixing a little bit. The thing is that we have finished our footstep, and we were watching from our working party other things that they've done, and we were watching Kiyaki's video about an interview from an Egyptian refugee. Actually, she's the mother of one of her students. And she was presenting a big plate with the history of Egypt on it. And as we were talking about what can we see, what do we think, what do we appreciate about all those things that we were watching, there was a kid of mine, Irini. She said, you know something, this reminds me of my country, because she's an immigrant, actually. And I said, what's the connection that you have with this thing? She says, my country is as shiny as Egypt. And I said, how do you connect with that? I mean, what did you see that was to make you say that this reminds you of your own country? She says the fact that the sun is on that plate actually reveals it. It's always summer there. That's what she said. And I thought it was a nice thing, because even if she's in Greece, she can relate to something through the learning journey too, to her own roots, to her own country, to her own past.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Tonya. Any other connections?
Let me think.
It doesn't have to be from you. You can take some time to think. You can share now if you like, or Lee or Sandra, you can feel free to jump in at any time.
Maybe I can.
What was that? Oh, Lee, I think you may be muted. We're not hearing you.
Oh,
there you are.
can you hear me?
Yes.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, all right, okay. I think maybe I'll just share it from an educator's perspective, because I think when I went into the learning journey, actually I was trying to find some connection as in how can I integrate, for example, the footsteps into what is in the history classroom, the existing syllabus. And of course, I think I was immediately drawn to maybe footstep 3, yeah, the one that talks about connecting with the older generation. Yeah, because I think storytelling, it's a very important part, okay, of what we do also in history classroom. And then, so I thought that was actually an excellent platform for the students to go out and, find a person. For me, I did ask them, maybe you can find someone that's age above 50, not just 30 years old. So I kind of make a bit of change. Yeah, and then I realized that a lot of them actually ended up having the conversation with their grandparents. Yeah, so it's like a lot of the family stories actually came up from the personal objects, etc. So some of them actually made a connection between why, for example, their grandparents are here, for example, in Singapore, because a lot of them also, they could be second generation Chinese from China, for example. So I could see that actually from the educator's point of view, that was a very good platform for me to start this thing going. Yeah.
Great.
I'll just say on a side note, because I made a connection there, that we're currently piloting a new Stories of Human Migration learning journey, which we're very excited about. And I just think even hearing the 2 connections that you made were connected to migration, different contexts, different kinds of patterns of migration, but we think that a learning journey that's very specifically targeted around it's very topical in many countries right now, but it's specifically targeted on an issue, is kind of a new direction that we're moving in. So that's just one connection I wanted to make.
And I'll just say that we have a couple more comments in the Q&A. Kiriaki says, thank you to Tonya for sharing that story. It's amazing how an old plate created so many connections among different students. And Holly Scott, another educator, says the video that Tonya is referring to is a beautiful video that we can all learn from. It shows the power of sharing stories and building connections. So we will be posting a link to that video under in the description of this Google Plus Hangout so our community can explore it. Sandra, did you want to say something?
Yeah, maybe I'll read something that one of the students wrote as part of her reflections. She says here, Out of Eden Learn helped me to think critically and encouraged me to think about what happens around me and around the world. It also encouraged me to ask questions about my past, about others' past, and about objects that we frequently used. For Out of Eden Learn, I also had to practice my communication skills by interviewing somebody from an older generation, and even though the person I interviewed was my grandmother, whom I am very close to, still the interview was something that I would not usually have done. So that's just one reflection.
That's cool.
I think since we've been doing this, actually we've heard from many students who we've interviewed or surveyed that starting important conversations in their family was kind of like a side benefit of doing Out of Eden Learn. I think we can all probably relate to the fact that our lives are busy, we kind of go around, and actually sitting down to have a conversation, to hear somebody's story. And with some students, it's not grandparents, it's actually their parents as well, to hear the story of their life or things that they've done or things that they value or that are important to them. I think that opens up a space, shall we say. And I myself was a former history teacher. One of my pet things is that I think there's so much learning that can happen intergenerationally, and that young people, given an opportunity, are actually hungry to hear about wisdom, advice, just stories from people they care about and can look up to. So thank you for bringing that up, Sandra, because I really love it when we hear things like that.
I would like to add something with what Liz said. In kindergarten, we usually ask parents, help when we are trying to do a project or something. So in this case, since the Out of Eden Learn started, in my classroom, they were mostly, invited to come with us, to help us, and to do many things for this project as well. So what they really said is that maybe it was one of the most precious times, spending with their kids in order to participate in something that usually schools puts them, away. So we gave them the opportunity to be close to their kids, have moments of sharing stories, of talking, and and listen really carefully actually, and to be able to connect, to say things that maybe in another case nobody would have asked. Those things are not in our everyday life. So Out of Eden Learn actually gave them the opportunity to share more with their kids every other time.
I've got another reflection, and I love this one because the connection is fun. She went for footstep 5 when I tasked them to translate what they had written about the photo of their choice into poetry. This girl said that she discovered, even though she thought herself not a poet, that she actually had fun writing it. So I think that's kind of important in education and in learning.
Yeah, we like fun. That's great.
I just want to share Vanenka's connection. She says, I haven't worked with Journey 2, however, I'm learning now from all of you. Thanks. I found connections with Footstep 4 listening to neighbors' stories. Liz, did you want to talk a little bit about how those two footsteps connect, listening to neighbor stories and learning from other generations, maybe how learning from other generations builds off of it.
Yeah, sure. So some of the backstory of this is before Out of Eden Learn. I was doing some research on how young people connect their own lives to the past, and there was actually a pilot thing which in some ways presaged what was going to happen with Out of Eden Learn. There was a classroom from Australia, Canada, and the US who were connected online, and they drew diagrams to show how their lives are connected to the past, which you see in this learning journey, and then they went on to compare their diagrams with people in their classroom across country, and then they asked somebody over the age of 50 to draw a diagram as well and reflect back on that. And that's, I believe, still an option in our learning journey, but we found that people have really gravitated to the object. And the whole point of this is for, of them doing the diagram anyway, is for them to really to start thinking about the generation that I belong to, where I am in history, the kind of experience that I've had. How does that affect how I connect to the past, how I think about the past? And so some of that is carried on into this new learning journey. However, and this is the benefit of having multiple people involved in this project, Shari in particular has done a lot of work about looking at objects carefully. And as you know, or some of you may know that in a previous version of this learning journey, we had a real see, think, wonder, look carefully at an object. And so what we did as a group, having had feedback from students about what they liked and didn't, and we decided to fuse the idea of looking carefully at an object and using the observational skills that we've tried to build in Learning Journey 1 with the idea of listening carefully to somebody else's story, which also appears in Learning Journey 1 when you interview somebody, in the hopes that young people could connect with an older person around this object and also think about how does the story that's told about this object compare to maybe their connections to things that are important to them or everyday objects that they use now. So there's really a lot of things going on there, and I guess it's quite typical of Out of Eden Learn that we've tried to frame activities that we think will be rich and which will yield stories, but there are lots of different ways into the activities, and that's partly why I think we see such variety in student responses, which then makes being part of Out of Eden Learn more exciting and enriching and kind of opens up new possibilities for young people. So that was maybe beyond what you were expecting, Shea, but
Wonderful, thank you. I just want to welcome Tabitha to the call. Hi, Tabitha.
Hi, everybody.
Do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself to the call?
Sure. I'm Tabitha O'Donnell. I'm a teacher in South Florida, and right this year I'm teaching 6th grade language arts and history, ancient civilizations.
Wonderful, welcome. So we're on the connect portion of the thinking routine, and we do have to move on to extend very soon. But did you want to share a quick connection students are making? Or?
Oh, well, just to echo some of the things that Liz was saying, I had my students do the Connect Extend Challenge, and it was great because they were saying too that, you know, now when they go outside, yeah, the grass is green, but now they're able to look at the grass and say, oh, it's sort of a lighter shade of green, and there's dew on the grass everywhere. And so they really, they're connecting so well with other students too from around the world, and I think that was, like, they know that there's other kids, you know, in other places, and they have different beliefs and things, but to really able to connect with them and to be able to have them respond back to their work that they're putting online, it's exciting for them because it just makes them feel like, wow, this is somebody who's just like me and they have similar interests that I do. So those connections are really exciting to see.
Wonderful. Thanks. So we're going to go ahead and move on to extend. Any extensions you and your students have experienced. So this is a little bit, it's kind of the next step. After they make the connection, how does it extend their thinking? Or even you as educators, how has your thinking or your practice been extended by, you know, experiencing these activities or implementing these activities in your class?
Okay, maybe I can share an extension. Yeah. I think if you have seen some of the posts that the students have put up, actually, because I'm trying to integrate it with a bigger inquiry project that we'll be doing in our history classroom, which is what is worth remembering in Singapore. Yeah. So that's why I also tasked them when interviewing the individual, could you just ask them also another question, what they feel is worth preserving or even remembering in Singapore. Yeah. And then I asked them to kind of look at the connections between, for example, the individual make between the personal object and himself or herself, and also the connection that the individual made with this bigger object that he or she thinks is worth remembering for the country. Yeah. So then get them to compare whether there's any similarity or difference. Trying to probably tease out the whole concept of significance. And later on, we'll be building on footstep 3. We'll be using the material, and then we're going to further the discussion when we embark on our inquiry project, which they're going to start after the term break. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, I noticed that in their work, the what is worth remembering in Singapore piece, and I wondered what that was from. So I'm glad to hear that you've actually, not only are students, not only are their thinking, not only is their thinking being extended, but you're actually extending the activities in the classroom to fit your curriculum. So anybody who wants to share extensions that they're implementing with the curriculum, that's also welcome.
Yeah. Because I think something interesting is that, there is, the students do find that there's a difference between personal significance and historical significance, but yet a lot of it, historical significance, is also built on many of the individual significance that have been attached. How the individual accord significance, and because of, obviously for a country, it's made out of different groups of people, how do we then go about deciding what is worth remembering and what is actually historically significant? So it really challenges and kind of extends their thinking beyond, just what an individual, how an individual connects with a personal object. So I think in that sense, the extension does help to expand their thinking. Yeah.
That's great.
I'll just say as a side note, I'm earlier this morning, I'm just finishing off a piece related to my earlier research about how young people connect their own life stories to the significant past. So I might send it your way, because there are some examples there, and kids have drawn diagrams and told stories about it, because I think there are different ways that young people do that, and I feel like it's really interesting. And also a really great way to, I think, invigorate history curriculum and make it feel more personally relevant for young people versus something detached and content they have to learn. So very happy to hear this, Lee. This is really great. Shaya, shall I jump in and at this point and read the message from Stephanie?
Sure.
I think this is an extension. So we received a really nice email yesterday from Stephanie Mitzenmacher, I hope I'm saying that right, from Chicago, and this was her first year doing Out of Eden Learn, and unfortunately, as I'm sure you all understand, scheduling did not allow her to be part of this today. No doubt she's teaching in a meeting, doing something in a busy school day. So she has definitely taken some of the ideas of Learning Journey 2 and kind of extended them out. So I'm just going to read from this email. As we enter our final weeks of the year, my class of 5th graders is actually about to embark on a large-scale thinking routine reflection project where we are going to trace how one book that we read this fall, which is Fish by Alice Matthews, has connected us to countless systems in the many layers of our world, from our tiny little everyday classroom and school world, to our worlds at home, to the world of our city, to the global community, and to the digital world. Paul's journey and the Out of Eden Learn project have inspired us and have been instrumental in helping to build the thinking habits necessary to do this synthesis work. Our project is going to begin as poster-sized collaborative diagrams modelled after footsteps 2 and 4 in Learning Journey 2. I'm hoping these diagrams can morph into some kind of piece of community art created by the entire class, perhaps a short film or large-scale painting to represent our 5th grade journey. So we look forward to seeing the results if you're watching this later, Stephanie. She says, my kids are constantly talking about the interesting ways in which they see things connecting, and have begun mentioning how they'd never really thought much before about the complexities of even the most seemingly simple parts of our world. And then here's the praise bit, which I will just include some of. I cannot begin to express how valuable our participation in Out of Eden Learn has been this year. The learning environment has created endless opportunities for deep thinking, self-expression, and community building. Please accept my thanks. And she goes on. But that's a terrific example. Well, we like it when people have found benefit from our work, but doing the footsteps and then just thinking on a scale beyond anything that we had imagined, and taking on into other aspects of the curriculum. So I thought we thought that was very nice. Yeah.
Great. I wanted to share Maria's comment from Piraeus, Greece. I haven't worked with Journey 2, but my students love Journey 1. Looking forward to participating next year. It's an amazing opportunity for every student to be a part of and learn to slow down. Very important skill nowadays. And emphasize that enough. So we have about 12 minutes left, so we do want to leave time for the challenge portion. Does anybody else want to share the last one or two extensions?
I've actually shared, and I've posted a resource in the educator's resource on Out of Eden Learn. That's the one for Footstep 5, the extension into poetry. Maybe just read off a little bit the extension that I'm finding in what the students are saying. So for instance, one girl chose a photo of a winter scene, and she said that Singapore has no winter, and she found herself needing to try to see things from a different perspective. And another girl said the whole process of having to translate the picture into poetry was an experiment in different interpretation of the photo, and how she had to consider things on a global scale, take things into account, the poem's intended message and setting to match that with the photo itself. So I think that was for her an extension.
I would like to share something, if this is okay.
Of course.
We actually pick up, you know, the matryoshkas. Matryoshkas are that wooden. It's actually a game, a Russian game, which has dolls, wooden dolls, one inside of the other.
Yeah.
If you can understand what I mean. Anyway, that was the object that we see through it for for footstep number 4. So when we were asking questions or what the material it is, you know, where does it come from, and all that stuff, the kids said, okay, it's from wood. It comes from the trees. So when today we were talking about how things that we've learned are extended our minds, our ideas, our thoughts, a student of mine said, you know, Miss Tonya, I'm worried a bit about how many trees were cut in order to make a matryoshka. So the thing that the kid actually had this idea of worrying about how many trees are going to be cut in order to make this toy, I think it was big for a 5-year-old kid. So maybe that extension of his thoughts is going to be, you know, the first footstep for him to starting caring about the system, the global, the environment. I thought it was nice.
Shaya? Oh.
Yes.
Hi. Yes. Is Sandra from Singapore?
Yeah.
Okay. I think we're in the same walking party, and the poems that the girls have written are beautiful. So that's really added. That was one of the things I wanted to make sure that extension got in there, because just having that extra bit of the poetry is made that footstep really wonderful to read. One of the things with for an extension with ancient civilizations that I'm teaching this year, it's been great. The kids really kind of feel like Paul's doing this walk along with our curriculum because it starts out with early civilizations. So we started out just going back to his first dispatches when he's in Ethiopia. So it kind of just following that path along the way too. And now that he's on the Silk Road, we're into ancient China right now. So it's kind of the dispatches have been just wonderful to read to and to follow along with him. So as an extension, but
wonderful. So let's go ahead and move on to the third part of the thinking routine, challenge. And this is an opportunity for questions and puzzles to emerge and maybe share how you've dealt with those questions or puzzles along the way, or maybe how you're grappling with them now, and if there's anything that we can help each other with in this conversation. So, questions and puzzles.
Actually, while people are thinking of what they might be, I've got a puzzle that I'd like to share, and I actually talked about it at a faculty luncheon yesterday here at the Ed School. It's to do with Footstep 5, I think that's Footstep 5, where students go into the Instagram accounts, Everyday Africa, Everyday Asia, Everyday Iraq. They pick the photograph that they want to comment on, and then they do looking 10 by 2, so they really look closely at the photograph and start to draw out stories. I'll be honest that I think of all of our footsteps, this is the one that we've found the most tricky to get right, and I don't think that we've yet got it right. And the reason that I say that is this is one footstep where we are trying to encourage the young people to look out at the world to find resources, and also, frankly, to see that while Paul's journalism is an exemplary in terms of slow journalism, there's plenty of other resources out there, where they can learn about the world. And Everyday Africa, which was the first version of this, it was deliberately set up to counter some of the stereotypes of Africa in the media and to allow African people or people living in Africa to post photographs of their continent as they see it. And it also ties in with our concept of documenting the everyday. However, when young people who know nothing really about the context are trying to draw inferences from a photograph, it's really quite difficult for them. And we notice that some students are very conscious of maybe causing offense by kind of their interpretation being wrong, or passing judgment on other people or their environments. Or, there are some students who wade into it and make very sweeping comments about the photograph that may or may not be appropriate to the eyes of people whose culture is being represented. So we're really puzzling about how can we tweak this footstep so it keeps the spirit of looking out on the world, not being afraid to ask questions, but at the same time doesn't feel like we're encouraging sweeping generalizations or comments, or putting young people in a position where there's essentially, it's a flawed exercise, and some of them have even commented on that, quite honestly. What can I say, because I know nothing about this context. So I don't know if any of you you can resonate with that, or if you've got suggestions, but that's one that we're currently looking to revise, quite frankly.
I think some of the students, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. Well, I know for Footsteps 5, that's part of the Global Forces. Looking back, Chris Swinko from Michigan had put together some videos on beat making in Africa and different organizations that set up like skateboarding schools in Afghanistan and different countries. So those short video clips kind of helped my students understand a little bit more about what global forces are. So they were able to relate to that, so it wasn't just a photo. But we're still kind of we haven't finished Learning Journey 2. We got kind of a late start, so we're still kind of in the midst of it, and some of my students are at different paces. But I know with the videos kind of help them.
Well, that's an interesting suggestion. Yeah, thank you. Sandra, did you have a comment?
I thought for some of the students, when the instruction was given to look also at what has been written about the photograph, it helped them to have at least some kind of entry point or to begin to ask questions about what they are seeing. So I think that is a little bit helpful instead of just looking at the photograph cold.
I couldn't agree more about that, because I think that's the most difficult footstep we are facing now with my kindergartners. I'm thinking of let them select the photograph that really catch their attention, and probably because the global forces is something very difficult for them to conceive. I think I will let them just feel free to share their thoughts, or to ask questions, to of course to look slowly and to observe things. I don't know how will that go, but I think I will try it that way, because global forces is something difficult for them to understand at this point.
Yeah, I agree with getting the pupils to ask a few more questions, because I think for history teachers we also do face a similar problem, because we often use photographs as primary sources, and then often, if the students do not have enough contextual understanding, we always end up making certain inferences based on certain assumptions. I think my colleague, a geography teacher as well, because they also use photographs quite a fair bit in a geographical investigation. And often, before the inferences are made, we always will take them through a list of questions. Yeah, so that at least the inferences that they've made, they have thought through. And then even in the process of it, they are able to uncover some of the assumptions that they have when interpreting any kind of photographs or sources or evidence. Yeah.
Great, actually, that's really helpful. Thank you.
And Tonya, let us know how it goes with the young ones.
Of course, you will see the results.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any other challenges in the last few minutes, or things that they're concerned about, or suggestions for improvement, or new things we could do?
I have a challenge that I don't know if it's really a challenge, maybe more a challenge for Out of Eden Learn, but I now am more curious about my life's connection with others around the world. So is there a Learn Journey 3 to for this one? But so you sparked a lot of interest, so.
So say a bit more. My life's connections to others around the world. What kind of things are you thinking that means?
Well, this I think for them, I mean, they really they got into just the similarities with others that they were able to talk with, because I mean, I think, like I said, they know about these different cultures, and we're learning about lots of different cultures, but it's not until they start having these conversations where it's just talking every day and just responding back to each other's work, and just some of the they love it when the different time zones kind of match up, where they're online at the same time. I don't know how that worked out. There was a few days that they posted their work, and then right away they got responses. So I think that in learning about history also, that it's more real to them. Like one student was talking about how the arts are something that survive throughout the centuries. Ancient Greece, what seems to be left is their sculpture, and then as you move through the paintings, and then just so they're understanding that it's more about it's people, it's the human connection, it's the human touch, and it's the beauty of music that happens, and I'm not explaining this well, but it's the connections that they're making with each other on that level. So.
Shay, do you want to? I'm mindful of people's time. I know we started late, but it is kind of time. Do you want to wrap things up for us, Shay?
Sure. I just also want to share one more comment from Kiriaki. She says, Talking about connections and extensions, I just remembered a very inspiring video I've watched in one of Shari's presentations, and it's called "This is Not a Chair." And she shared a link for everyone, and I will copy and paste that link into the description underneath this video when it hits YouTube.
Yeah, I think that's the one we referred to earlier. So yeah, that we'll definitely post.
Great. All right, so I just want to thank you all for joining us today. I think we learned a lot. I think we need to have Google Hangout Learning Journey 2.0 so that we can continue the conversation at some point, maybe once the learning journey is over for everyone.
Great, and I'll just say a shout out. We will be sending out very soon educators' surveys, which are really important for us. So obviously, those of you on the screen now, anybody watching, but anybody who watches this afterwards, just a plug for that. I know you're all busy, but for some of you, it's fine if you want to wait till the semester's over, for those of you in those kind of time zones. But we really do need educator feedback to continuously learn from you and also keep on improving and thinking about ways to develop Out of Eden Learn. Thank you.
All right.
Great to see you. I love doing these. So inspiring. So thank you.
Thank you all so much, and thank your students.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.